is Nane Nane. Today, though, let's first of all begin by acknowledging and appreciating that today is the 7th of August, and we mark what happened on the 7th of August in 1998 when the bomb blast took place in the center of Nairobi. And that was one time when people were just shocked and ushered into this wave of global terrorism. Many people died, many people lost their lives in your city.
And many lives were changed forever. And even the memory of it is something that should remind us of what it is that happens when one loses touch with the reality for just for a second, a single second. Intelligence was received, it was communicated, it was not heeded.
Yeah. Yep. That's the story in the nation today. That Brigadier Boynet and then NSIS had actually sent an urgent telegram to the U.S. Embassy in Nairobi 10 days before the bomb blast.
10 days.
Yeah, and said something is afoot.
And by that time, the embassy was bang in the middle of town, actually. Yes.
Question that one would ask, though, is, okay, the National Intelligence Service is giving this brief to the U.S. Embassy. It should also have given a brief to the country's security system. What did the country's security system do to thwart this, to try and avert it?
You know,
the U.S. Embassy would only deal with the U.S. Embassy compound.
You know, the problem with the learning curve that we have, or the learning process, somehow it's a tragedy that awakens people to the reality of what they ought to have done.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
It was only after 9/11 that the U.S. government, for instance, decided to take certain precautions, and the intelligence and the security apparatus now beefed up the way they do things, and they revolutionized even the way they looked at intelligence. Prior to that, one could argue they had seen no need to do that, isn't it? We'd never had a bomb attack in this country. Oh, wait.
Well, there was the one at the Norfolk.
There was one at the Norfolk, and there was one even at OTC.
OTC, yes.
Yes. But not of this magnitude.
Yeah. So, tomorrow, Nane Nane, if the youth and others who are supporting the youth at heart, decide to come out for this round of demonstrations, the police have said they're adequately prepared.
What are they prepared for exactly?
That's the thing. What are we likely to see? How safe are the protesters who intend to come out tomorrow? If intelligence is there that maybe there'll be infiltration, what are the intelligence and the security agencies doing to make sure that it's not infiltrated, that it remains peaceful, and that the peaceful protesters are protected? That's why we've invited Grace Wangeshi. She is the Executive Director of the Independent Medical Legal Unit. Grace, good morning.
Good morning.
Good to have you here again.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Karibu to the hot seat of the situation.
Yes, thank you.
You're looking good, you're looking well. And that goes into the conversation that I wanted to start with you. This is about medical health checkups.
Yep.
Annual health checkups. Yeah. Do you follow those ones religiously?
Yes, I do.
Every year, right? You try as much as possible.
I need to do better.
Yes. That's the message that the Aga Khan University Hospital is actually saying. They're saying, let's all do better. Let's make sure that we plan and schedule regular medical checkups. They say for as low as 9,950, you can walk to any Aga Khan University Hospital clinic and you say, I want a comprehensive medical checkup, and they will do it. Just checking and seeing that you're okay. And if you're not okay, then you start getting straight into how to get better. And also you're advised, so what do? This is let's look at your diet, let's look at your exercise regimen, let's look at the kind of lifestyle that you're leading. You sit for too long, you talk too much, those kind of things. Mdomo yako. So 9,950. Message home, Aga Khan University Hospital. There's one, I'm sure where you live, not far, you will find an Aga Khan University Hospital Center facility. So you don't have to go to Limuru Road. You can go to the one closer to you.
Great offer.
Okay. Now, City will give you the day's proverb. This week, last week, next week, it's proverbs from landlocked countries of Africa. You're trying to think of which landlocked country you know. Not Uganda, which other one?
There are many. Let me hear what surprise he has for me.
Okay.
That is a lesson in how to avoid answering a question.
We'll be back.
We will be back.
We'll be back.
We have a whole hour here.
I can't wait.
Okay. Our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the Republic of Botswana. Okay? An extremely interesting country. Okay? Have a population of 2.4 million, believe it or not. 70% of the country is desert. Amazing. Don't laugh at the fallen, for the slippery path is still ahead.
Don't laugh at the fallen,
Yes.
for the slippery path is still ahead.
Interesting. Don't laugh at the fallen, for the slippery path is still ahead.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. I guess it could speak to a lot of things.
Yes.
One is that you're not too far off as well. If you see your neighbor, somebody going through a tough time, don't sit and enjoy it and watch from afar and think that it will not, that someday you're not getting to a situation where you will need somebody to help you out. So I think it just reminds us that we need to be watchful of each other, to be empathetic, and not just think that things are too far off from you. The you and us. I guess for me that would be the simple and easy. You versus. So you're always pointing fingers. You're always thinking, they've gone off the road. Yeah.
But also remember, you
Yes.
look at yourself.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Imlu, I'm sure, has been very busy and active during this past couple of weeks since the Gen Z protests began. We have seen arrests. We have seen unfortunate incidences of death and injury to people. We have seen reports from the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights detailing what they have recorded as injuries, as deaths, as arrests, as abductions. Reports that have been disputed by none other than the president himself, saying these people, sometimes they are over generous with their numbers. From your own independent side, what reports do you have? What are the numbers that you have of the dead, the injured, the arrests, the abductions?
Thank you very much for that question, and a good place to begin. Let me say that, number one, we are called the Independent Medical Legal Unit for a reason. One, the independent means that we are completely independent. And so you're right that we verify our information. We have tools that we utilize to verify that information, but also to state that we are part of the Situation Room, which is hosted at Kenya National Commission on Human Rights. And therefore, we completely do agree with those numbers. Let me just give a little brief of what happens when calls come in, reports come in, because there are monitors that we engage, human rights defenders on the ground. The public is watching. So any information that is received at the commission, it is analyzed. And a lot of us, different civil society actors, members of the Police Reforms Working Group, sit in that unit, in the situation room. We call it a situation room. So when that information comes in, it is keyed in, it is analyzed. And then people like us, the Independent Medical Legal Unit, now utilize our tools and systems to undertake further investigations or other documentation. Actually, let me call it documentation. So let me start with what we have at the Situation Room. The Situation Room, and I'll give figures as at the 31st of July, just so that we are consistent on numbers.
Okay.
So the numbers we had in terms of the persons that were reported to have received injuries at that time was 601 persons. We had 60 deaths that were reported, and we had arrests of over 1,429 people. 1,429. And we had abductions at 66 people. People. Now, what we do, so Azimlu will now take that information and then, as I said, utilize our our tools to assess further. So we have confirmed, and this doesn't mean that these numbers are not true, because we are a step behind. Because for us now, we are undertaking the thorough documentation. So we have confirmed that as at that time, the injuries are correct completely. The arrests are correct completely. We have been able to confirm the abductions. But for the abductions, I want to say that 37 of those abductions have been resolved.
Okay.
All right, that people have been found, or persons who lost their lives, unfortunately, have been found. So we have, some of them now translate into the death. Yeah.
Okay.
We still have 26 missing persons, and I'll speak a little about that because it's a very worrying situation. Now, we as IMLU have conducted 45 autopsies from the death. The dead persons. So we are able to confirm and verify the cause of death. And again, I'll be speaking to that. And these are the numbers that are with us. Now, there's a second set of data. And this is data at the Nairobi Funeral Home, City Mortuary. Now, we have 247 bodies that are lying at our City Mortuary, of which...
All this is at 31st July.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. This, the 247, 154 of those have been identified, meaning they are sort of closed. The relatives have been able to identify their kin. So these 154 are known.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah,
the 247 bodies at City Mortuary, does it include bodies that have been brought here by relatives?
Yes, the
That have come from
247.
hospital?
Yes, yes.
So it's all bodies.
It's those bodies
at the City Mortuary.
At the City Mortuary during that period. It's actually from the date of 25th of June to 30th of July. All right. So now, from the 154, there are 62 bodies that are unidentified, and who are unknown. Let me call them unknown. They have not been identified. We don't know this is person A, this is person B. All right? Of course, there are records that have been provided by the police, and the records according to the books there indicate accidents, sudden deaths, drowning, suicide, natural deaths. So they are those, supposedly causes of death.
So
all
hold on. This 62 unidentified bodies, how did they end up at City Mortuary?
Now, some are dropped there,
By?
Some have been collected by police and taken to the mortuary. So there are different sources. They landed there through different ways.
How many other ways could there be? Yes,
at times people take.
So people will take their relative.
Yeah.
But they'll report.
They'll report. So these 62, we want to confirm are not part of what has been taken by relatives.
Okay.
Because as I said, these are unknown.
Yep.
They're not tied. If a relative would definitely know I'm taking my kin.
Yep.
So they'll have a name.
And there'll be a record of who
and there'll be a
the body.
record. So these are police, these are taken in by police.
By police.
Now, so when we say there are 62 unknown, okay, it means that certain processes have to be undertaken for a conclusive determination of who they are. Autopsies need to be done to determine the cause of death. Fingerprinting needs to be done to identify who they are. And DNAs need to be done to also confirm their relations to their next of kin. So there's a long process that has to be finalized.
But against each of these bodies, there's a police report on how they ended up here. The police must have said, picked up at blah, 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 blah. What do those reports say?
Now, that information has not been made public to us. What we have is just what is listed as a cause of death. So 11 accidents, 12 mob injustice, sudden death 11, drowning 10, suicide 2, fire cases 2, natural deaths 3, shooting incidents 3, 1 infant death, 6 murder cases, 1 unknown. No record was given. Okay. But let me just clarify this, that given what has been happening, we do know that there's been a lot of falsification of information and data. So I am insisting on a due process that is provided for to determine the cause of death and who these are and link them to their families. And let me say that it is a very unfortunate situation in Kenya because we have families that are struggling with the loss of their loved ones. We have families looking for their people. They have never been found. Remember the 26 I talked about. And just to say, the 26 are not amongst these ones because the relatives of the 26 have been moving from morgue to morgue looking for their people.
And they're not here.
They're not here.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's an important clarity. And so even as we speak about this, allow me to say my sincere condolences, to pass my sincere condolences to the families that are struggling with the pain and trauma of not knowing where your relatives are, or not knowing why they were killed, not knowing if they're alive or dead.
Okay. There's a figure that you did not go into. When IMLU now is doing its own thorough, deeper documentation,
Yes.
you confirm the injured, you confirm the arrests, you've confirmed the abductions, the dead. Do you confirm the 60?
The dead are confirmed as 60.
Okay.
But we've only done autopsies for 45 of them.
Okay.
Okay? We've only conducted 45 autopsies. It's an expensive process. It's a complicated process. It takes time. Yeah? So we've only done 45. We are still going to cover the remaining.
Okay. This 60, they can all be traced. They have a name, they have a relative. They're identified. The 60 confirmed deaths.
Yes. Yes.
There's a name
Yes.
to each of them.
Yes.
And it's confirmed with their relatives as well, that this is our person.
Yes
They've
and
been
no.
identified, basically. Have they?
In,
Are there unidentified people among these 60 that are dead?
amongst the 60, no. Amongst the 60, these are identified.
Okay.
Yes, these are identified. Amongst the 60, they are known.
Okay.
Yes. The 62 are the unidentified. The 62 that were amongst the 247 in the morgue. Yes.
So the 60 are identified.
Yes.
We know these ones are.
Yes.
And then we have another 60 bodies at
Yeah.
City Mortuary alone.
Yes.
62 bodies at City
Yes.
Mortuary alone that we don't know who they
Yes.
are. Okay.
Yeah.
The abductions. How do we define abduction?
Abduction is when somebody has been taken unwillingly to an undisclosed location. Nobody knows where they are. They were just taken forcefully. They did not go willingly.
Taken by who?
Of course, state agencies.
How do we know?
I think the trend, you have seen it. We've had media, all of us have seen it on mainstream media, people being pushed into cars that are unmarked. We've seen a good example is the Gaido story. We all saw, and it was announced. We've seen the young people calling out, have been, somebody saw I was with so-and-so. They have been taken unlawfully. Please find out where they are.
Many times, those arresting them are not in uniform. They are in unmarked vehicles. So how do we know that these are state agencies?
Some have covered their face.
Yes. And that's something we want to talk about because that's a new tactic that is being used by security organs. And it is against all international protocols and laws. The police have to be in uniform. They need to be identifiable. They need to have a badge on them that shows their number, their service number, and their name. But now we've seen them being masked in plain clothes, in unmarked cars. But the operations and the how they abduct, you can tell these are trained people. They are carrying weapons that openly they do not conceal. These are not even normal weapons that criminals use to begin with. I mean,
I'm trying to get ahead of this story where the police come and say we are not the ones. Because if they're not identified, we have 66 people who we say have been abducted. 37 of them have been resolved. Either they're found dead or they have been returned and reunited with their families. Okay? And then we still have some 26 who are missing. Those that have come back, how do we know that they had been picked up by authorities? And those that are still missing, the 26, how do we know who picked them up?
Okay. Now, from the reports of those that have been found, and this is in the public domain as well, they have a few of them, because it's very, very traumatic, a few of them have come up publicly and have shared their story, their experience, and what they went through. All of them, and the story is consistent, all of them were questioned about their involvement with the protests. All of them were put in vehicles, blindfolded, driven around for hours, put in some cells or a holding. They don't know where exactly it was. Most of them, they were still in blindfolded when they were put in enclosed places. And then later again, driven around for a bit, and then dropped
Abandoned
off.
somewhere.
Abandoned somewhere. Where? Near rivers, near forests. And we have seen bodies that have been thrown in quarries and in rivers. And those bodies have a story to tell. The dead speak. Our reporters, IMLO, says that the dead speak because there's a story. When we do autopsies, we do not do them for the sake of doing them. It is to find the story and to get closure.
So, Grace, how do we know who the abductors are?
So who, Eric, allow me to ask you. Let me just ask you
Throw
this
it back,
question, yeah?
okay.
Who puts you in a vehicle, drives along with you, and asks you about who is funding your protests, and how do you know about IMF, and how do you know about ABCD?
Anybody can do that. City and I can actually do that this morning.
And we can ask even more questions than you
Yeah.
mentioned. You see, the atmosphere that we have
Yes.
lends itself to an open season situation where if I have a grudge against you, that's all I need to do.
Okay. Then we turn this around. Whose duty is it to protect citizens? It is a state,
That's a good question.
okay?
Yep.
The duty to protect every citizen is the state. And therefore, these abductions should not be happening in broad daylight. They're not even happening in the dark. Yes, a few people have been picked from their homes in the evenings, at night, doors have been knocked. But most of what we've seen has been in broad daylight. A vehicle parks, pushes you into this waiting vehicle, and they drive off with you. So again, if it is not the state, then the state should be out protecting its citizens. Let me tell you, the amount of fear and anxiety we are creating in this country is unbelievable. We are building up anger, frustrations, fear. Those are dangerous elements. Those are really not good places for people to be.
You know, I'm insisting on this question.
Yes.
It's because you told us IMLU has tools, has all these things. Has any of those tools been deployed to try and identify who abducted so-and-so? Who picked up so-and-so? Where were they? How did they come out? Because then we can then use that and go and clear all the shadow of doubt and say, these people who picked this person up can be traced back to a police station or a DCI office or NIS, because all these words have been used out there. It is to avoid the president, every time he stands, he says, I promised and I still vow that there shall be no extrajudicial killings or abductions under my administration. That is basically saying that it is not state agencies
Okay.
that are conducting this.
Okay.
So the only way to counter that is not to ask, but who else would it be?
Yeah. Let's use the Gaido case, for
Yeah.
example.
Yes,
He was abducted, wasn't he?
he was.
Put into a vehicle.
Yeah.
Where was he driven to? Where was he found? So in as much as we keep saying, during my tenure, I promise that there'll be no extrajudicial killings, there'll be no enforced disappearance. That is a statement. But what are the organs that are charged with the mandate and responsibility of allowing and ensuring and safeguarding the freedoms that are provided for in our Constitution doing? How many cases? We have cases of people, again, it's not just Gaido, who the police denied they don't have them in custody. Where were they found? In a police station. Yeah, we have the Kisumu case. We have somebody last week who was actually in a police station, and he was denied access to lawyers, but he had sent out word. So we sent lawyers into the police station. When he was released, somebody who had been abducted and was okay, he had injuries. He's still in a hospital as we speak. This is a human rights defender. So the narrative that is being put out there that these are not state organs is not the right thing. And I can assure you that not just as a lot of people have documented these cases. At the moment, we cannot disclose and give all the details because these are open cases that are going to go to a court of law. Some are already in court. Yeah? And people have documented their experiences. So even when they don't say that I was in X police station because we're not able to identify the police station, the manner, demeanor of the questions, their statements. By the way, we have a lot of witness statements that we've already taken, a lot of them. So we have all these details, and it's not just us. And they're not just stored with us, just so that, again, I declare that if anyone is looking for evidence to destroy, please do not just come to us because this evidence is in a lot of different places. We've ensured that, okay? And it will see the light of day. I think Kenyans have said, we really want justice. We want a change. Eric, how do you ensure change if you cannot start by acknowledging the mistakes that the government has made, the mistakes that security organs have made, and saying, from now, we will use the law and we will enforce what is provided for in the law, and we will safeguard the rights and freedoms of Kenyans. If we don't do that now, we are continuing to build anger amongst Kenyans.
Good one. Let's take a break. It's 25 minutes to 8. Our guest this morning is Grace Wangeshi. She is the Executive Director of IMLU, the Independent Medical Legal Unit. We are talking about safety of protesters ahead of tomorrow's Nane Nane, but also looking back at what has happened so far in the protests. Number of injured, number of dead, 60 people confirmed dead, 601 injured, 1,429 arrested, and there are many who've been abducted, 66 of them, 26 are still missing. But we still have some bodies lying at the city mortuary that are still unidentified, and how they ended up there is still in question. 62 people, not bodies, 62 people are at city mortuary, and nobody knows